It is not true because you don't have it. So what happens sometimes is when you speak on something as if it's already happened, at first it is a lie because it's not true. But if you never cross there's a little thin margin between I'm faking it till I'm making it to I believe this enough that I know it's going to come down, or it's going to be something I'm able to do at some point, but I'm not going to stress out about it, and I don't need to remind myself every single second of every single day because I know that I'm going to be working in that direction anyways. So for example, if I said I want to be a wealthy person or I want to have wealth, but I've done nothing with my budget, I've done nothing to invest, I've done nothing to connect with a financial advisor, but I'm telling myself one day I'm going to be wealthy and I'm going to have all this money, I'm going to spend the money and all this. At that point, if you're not taking any action to follow through with that, then you're still lying to yourself. Until you start doing something that aligns with that situation, that activity, that desire, it's still going to remain a falsehood. So if you tell yourself, I want to have wealth, I want to not worry about money, I don't want to worry about my bills or having to worry about paying for this or paying for that, I don't want to stress out as much about finances, then what you need to do is you can talk on, when I'm, in a few years or in 5 years, financially things are going to be so much better and I'm going to be able to go to this trip and I want to plan it out because that's a realistic time frame. That's a practical frame of amount of time. But you want to make sure you get your ass on a budget as soon as possible. You want to make sure you start looking into investing or into your future savings plan. You want to make sure you connect with other people who are already doing stuff to help themselves build their wealth, because that's going to make it a real experience for you. So when you speak on it, it's not going to be a lie because you are actually taking some action. You are actually doing something to go in that direction. So at that point, it's a double approach to aligning to an experience. It's not just you speaking out of your ass. I spoke on moving here for years before I actually did it. It wasn't until I actually started to, the moment I started taking me moving here seriously, because I had wanted to move here to Santa Fe to New Mexico. I'd wanted to move here for almost 3 years before I actually took any action to get my ass here. So I spoke on it for 3 years. I spoke on it just the way you were saying, I'm going to get there and I'm moving there, but I wasn't doing anything. And so I was like, you know what? I need to stop waiting around for some sort of random miracle or for an angel to descend from the heavens with a free, get out of jail free card and just, that's not going to happen. So I need to do something to help this along. And what can I do? Well, what do people who want to move to a different place do? Well, they start coordinating and changing things in their lives to make the move happen. Okay, that's what I'll do. So the first thing I needed to do, and the riskiest thing that I needed to do, was I needed to make my business online only, which means no more in-person appointments, do away with the Reiki sessions and no longer do Reiki, and start to establish a business that was going to only be online or through what we're doing now. And that was a risk because a lot of people who want to get a reading, they think they have to be there in person or they have to go to someone in person. And so the moment I did that, you have to not remember because you didn't know this, but the day I decided I was going to take my move here seriously and take inspired action, I was booked out 6 months in advance for in-person appointments. And phone appointments, not so many. I had way less phone or video call appointments. I had a crap load of in-person appointments. I was booked 6 months out. So to suddenly decide that I was going to no longer offer in-person appointments and I was only going to offer online appointments was a huge risk because I had built my business to a stable point. And people in my family are like, what are you doing? You shouldn't. People are going to want in-person appointments. And so they thought I was making a huge mistake. But for me, this was about me moving here. And I was like, at the same time, I was ready to not do in-person because when you deal with energy in person, it's so much more draining and so much more exhausting. And so for me, having the connection or the disconnect with being on the internet is kind of like a buffer. It's kind of like a filter. I'm going to still connect in ways that I need to, but it's not going to be so much that I'm pulling in all of this extra energy and all of this craziness there. And so for myself, I was like, okay, so I went ahead and changed my scheduling options and I only offered in-person appointments. And I got a lot of slap back because my clients were not happy. People were not happy I was not going to be offering in-person sessions. People were not going to be, they were not happy about that. But I stuck with it. And I was like, no, this isn't about them. This is about what's going to make me happy. And I want to be in Santa Fe. I want to feel better about the energy exchange. I don't want to do in person anymore anyways. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm still going to do the work for people and do this work, but I'm just going to do it by my rules. I'm going to play by my rules and by my choices. And so I did that, and my 6-month waiting list went down to like 2 or 3 weeks. And that was freaking me out, and it was frightening, because when you have people booked out 6 months in advance, that's job security. When you're only booked out 2, maybe 3 weeks in advance, that ain't job security. That's like, oh shit, like I've just fucked up. I just broke my business. But I stuck with it, and what I decided to do was, okay, how do other people promote themselves or build themselves up? How do other people who, and because I knew I was taking something away. And so I had to find different ways of building a rapport with people, giving people a chance to connect with me, which is why I started doing lives years ago, which is why I started to incorporate all of that, because it gave people a chance to just connect with me. And this was before I was doing the free lives. The free lives are just in the last 2 years. But this was back when I was doing like just lives and getting on camera and talking to people. I wasn't really doing so much readings as I was just talking to people and connecting with them. But I saw my waiting list shrink to nothing, and it freaked me out. But it stayed that way. It didn't go to nothing. It stayed at that 2 to 3 week mark. And so I was able to maintain that for 6 months. And I kept telling myself, and I'm telling everybody, we're moving in April. And even my partner was like, it's already November and we don't know where we're living. And you're telling everybody we're moving in April? That's like 3 or 4 months away. We don't have anything planned. We don't have anything worked out. And I was like, look, babe, I got a list of all the things I need to do to make this move happen, things that have to happen for us to be able to move. And so I'm trying to knock out every single thing on the list that I have control over. There are certain things I don't have control over that are on the list, but there are certain things I do have control over. So I just focused on the things I had control over, and I made those changes, and I did that work. And what started to happen is the other things that I didn't have control over began to happen on their own. So the universe was conspiring with me. The universe was working with me, was coordinating with me. And so around January, again, I was telling everybody I was moving in April. Around that January, I bought a bunch of boxes. I spent a good chunk of money on buying boxes, because, when you go and buy a crap load of boxes for moving, it's expensive. I bought, packing stuff, everything. And I started packing all our crap. And my partner thought I was nuts. And he was like, why are you packing all our crap? I'm not going to be able to find anything. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. He didn't think we were ever going to really move. He just thought it was a pipe dream, or it was like me just talking. And I was like, nope, this is on my list. Pack all our shit and write on there Santa Fe. Go into Santa Fe. So in our living room, we had a bunch of boxes stacked up, and it would say, go into Santa Fe, go into Santa Fe, go into Santa Fe on the boxes. But it was another thing that I had control over. And so February came around, and we had been looking for places to move to, a house that, we didn't want to live in an apartment. We have cats, and not all places accept animals. So we were looking for a house, and we were looking in a specific area. We couldn't find anything. There was nothing available. And actually the housing market here is really tight. So most people find places through word of mouth. I didn't really know many people here, but, so it was like, well, shoot, I did all these other things, and then now we're ready to move in April. I ain't got a place to go to. And so in early March, just a few weeks before April, my partner, who just decided to suddenly or just randomly go on Craigslist, saw this property listed. But it wasn't on any real estate listing. It was just on Craigslist. And that was like a luck of the draw, luck right. And it would become available on April the 14th or 15th. And I was like, that's it, that's the one. And he was like, I don't know, we haven't seen it or whatever. I mean, it took a lot more work, and there's more to all of that than I've shared. Suffice to say, everything lined up, everything worked out, and here I am in the house. So, and it matches up. The house is the same outline as the ideal house, or the dream house that we would come and stay at for our Airbnb that I fell in love with. So, but we got there. But I took steps, I took actions. I wasn't just telling everybody we're moving, and I did that. I made the mistake of doing that for almost 2 or 3 years, I was telling people we're moving to Santa Fe, and nothing ever happened. But when I started to give it an actual date, and I made a list of all the things that needed to happen, and I started taking control of the things I had control over that I could get done, it worked out. And now, my appointments, and I'm only online now. I don't do in-person sessions. And right now, life analysis or life bookings are booked out, I want to say maybe a month or two, and then mediumships are booked out into 2022. So I built myself back up, and I built all that back up to where I wanted it to be, to feel comfortable and confident with that. But at the same time, I had to do something to get myself there. It wasn't just speaking on it. So when you say, I should speak on it as if it's not real, no, you can speak on it, but make sure you take inspired action. Or after you get past the I'm faking it till I make it, there is never a make it part. There's just a continuing to fake it and hoping for a miracle. When you don't do anything, the miracle never comes, and then you're angry and you're like, this doesn't work, this is crap, and then you want to turn your back on it.